Captain Hyun Dae-won stared at the screen in his command chair. The signal made no sense. It jumped between frequencies, screamed in 17 different languages, and carried a terror that needed no translation. Behind him, Lieutenant Jae Kwan worked frantically at his console, trying to clean up the message. "Sir, I think I have something," Jae said. His young face looked pale in the blue light of the bridge. "It's coming from Valora Prime. That's a council world, about 6 light-years from here." Hyun leaned forward. The translation matrix finally locked onto one phrase that repeated over and over. "They're killing us all. Someone, anyone, please help us." "Play it again," Hyun ordered. The message filled the bridge. Even through the static and alien languages, the fear was clear. Someone was dying. Someone was begging for help. And that someone was broadcasting to the entire sector, hoping that anybody would hear them. Dr. Yuna Park stepped onto the bridge, her medical coat still on from her shift in the medical bay. "Captain, I'm picking up biological distress markers in that signal. Whoever sent this is terrified beyond anything I've seen in the database." Hyun nodded slowly. The Indomitable was a human exploration ship, only 15 years after humanity had discovered faster-than-light travel. They were still new to space, still learning the rules of the Galactic Council. But this wasn't about rules. This was about people dying. "Jay, contact the nearest council station. Ask them what's happening at Valora Prime." The wait felt like hours, though it was only minutes. When the response came, it was from a Valorian diplomat named Linth. His voice was sad but calm. Too calm for what Hyun had just heard. "Human vessel Indomitable, we appreciate your concern. Valora Prime is under attack by the Kreth species. We have evacuated key personnel and council members. Unfortunately, council protocols forbid military intervention in territorial disputes. The cost would be too high. Valora Prime is lost." Silence fell over the bridge. Hyun felt his jaw tighten. Lost? There are millions of people on that planet. I can hear them screaming for help. "Yes," Linth said quietly. "But the Kreth are too powerful. Any species that fights them suffers terrible losses. It is better to preserve what we can and mourn what we cannot save. This is the council way. I am sorry." The channel closed. Hyun sat back in his chair, his mind racing. Around him, his crew waited. They were all thinking the same thing. The galaxy had rules and humans were new here. They should follow those rules. They should be smart, they should be careful. But the screaming continued on every speaker. "Please, someone help us. They're burning everything. Our children are dying. Please." Engineer Hana Choi spoke from her station near the back. "Captain, with respect to council protocols, those protocols can go straight to hell." Hyun almost smiled. Almost. "Dr. Park, how long would it take the Kreth to kill everyone on that planet?" Yuna checked her console. "Based on the attack patterns I'm seeing in the data, maybe a week, maybe less. The Valorians are not fighters. They're artists, philosophers, teachers. They have no weapons, no military, no defense. The Kreth are slaughtering them." Jay turned in his chair. "Sir, we're one ship. The Council has hundreds of vessels. If they won't help, what can we do?" Hyun stood up. He thought about Earth, about the history he had studied as a child. Humans had fought each other for thousands of years. They had seen genocide, seen evil, seen people turn away because it was easier than helping. And every time someone had stood up and said no more, it had mattered. "We can do what humans have always done," Hyun said firmly. "We can stand between the innocent and those who hurt them. Hana, how fast can you get the engines ready for combat operations?" Hana grinned, her fingers already flying across her console. "Give me 20 minutes, Captain. I'll make this ship sing." "Jay, plot a course to Valora Prime. Maximum speed." "Yes, sir." Jay's voice was eager now, excited. Yuna stepped closer to Hyun's chair. "Captain, the Council won't like this. We could lose our membership. Earth could be sanctioned." Hyun met her eyes. "Doctor, when you took your medical oath, what did it say?" "First, do no harm. Help those in need." "Exactly. The Council can sanction us later. Right now, people are dying, and we can help. That's all that matters. He raised his voice so the entire bridge could hear. I won't order anyone to do this. If you want to object, speak now. I'll note it in the log, and there will be no punishment. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The crew of the Indomitable had made their choice. Hyun tapped his command console, opening a channel to the entire ship. All hands. This is the captain. We have intercepted a distress call from Valora Prime. Millions of civilians are under attack. The Galactic Council has chosen not to intervene. We have chosen differently. In 30 minutes, we will jump to Valora Prime. We will do everything we can to help those people. I know we're one ship. I know we're outgunned. But we didn't come to space to watch people die. Prepare for combat operations. Hyun out. He closed the channel and looked at his crew. They were young, most of them. Humanity's first generation of true space explorers. They had joined the fleet to see wonders, to discover new worlds, to make friends among the stars. Now they were going to war. Captain, Hana called out. Engines are ready. We can jump in 5 minutes instead of 20. Jay, what do we know about the Kreth? Jay pulled up files on the main screen. Insectoid species, hive mind structure, very aggressive. They've taken 14 worlds in the past century. They use overwhelming numbers and biological weapons. Most species surrender after losing 10 to 15% of their population. Hyun frowned. Surrender at 15% casualties? That's nothing. Earth's wars saw nations fight after losing half their population. Sir, most council species evolved on peaceful worlds, Yuna explained. They've never had predators, never had wars, never had to fight for survival. Earth is classified as a Category 12 death world. We're the exception, not them. Then maybe it's time the galaxy met a death world species, Hyun said quietly. Jay, are we ready? Course plotted, sir. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The Indomitable leaped into faster-than-light travel, leaving council space behind. They were going toward the screaming, toward the fire, toward the death. They were going because someone needed help. And that was what humans did. The Indomitable dropped out of FTL space, and hell greeted them. Debris filled the orbital space around Valora Prime, spinning chunks of metal that had once been ships and defensive platforms. 3 massive vessels hung in high orbit, each one the size of a small city. They were ugly things, covered in organic-looking armor and dripping with weapons ports. Kreth hive ships, Jay breathed. Sir, each one of those carries at least 50,000 Kreth soldiers. Hyun watched the planet below. Even from orbit, he could see fires burning across the continents. The oceans, which should have glowed blue, reflected orange and red from the burning cities along the coasts. Smaller Kreth ships moved between the hive ships and the surface, carrying more troops down. How many Valorians are still alive down there? Hyun asked. Yuna checked her sensors. I'm reading about 7 million life signs. But Captain, the planet had a population of 12 million 3 days ago. 5 million dead in 3 days. Hyun felt sick. Sir, one of the Kreth ships is turning toward us, Jay reported. Smaller vessel looks like a patrol ship. They're hailing us. On screen. The image that appeared made several crew members gasp. The Kreth looked like massive insects, with 4 arms, compound eyes, and mandibles that clicked as they spoke. The translation came through flat and emotionless. Unknown vessel. You are in Kreth territory. Leave now or be destroyed. This world belongs to the Hive. Hyun stood up slowly. This world belongs to the Valorians who live on it. Leave now, or we will make you leave. The Kreth's mandibles clicked faster. You are one small ship. We are 3 hive ships and 50 patrol vessels. Your threat is meaningless. Final warning. Leave or die. Jay, Hyun said calmly. Show them what one small ship can do. The young lieutenant smiled. His fingers danced across his console, and the Indomitable suddenly accelerated directly at the Kreth patrol ship. In the Council fleet, ships fought at long range, exchanging careful shots while maintaining safe distances. The Kreth expected this. They started to fire their weapons, but the human ship was already too close. Hana had routed extra power to the engines. The Indomitable wasn't just fast, it was impossibly fast by Council standards. Jay brought the ship within 50 meters of the Kreth vessel and fired every weapon at point-blank range. The Kreth ship's shields collapsed instantly. Its hull tore apart like paper. "Two more patrol ships incoming," Jay reported. "They're trying to surround us. Don't let them. Stay close, stay fast, target their weapon systems first." What followed was a masterclass in human combat tactics. The Indomitable moved like a predator, striking fast and hard, never staying still long enough to be hit. Jay identified weak points in the Kreth ship's armor and exploited them ruthlessly. Within 8 minutes, 3 Kreth vessels were drifting wrecks, and the Indomitable had only minor damage. The Kreth hive ships began launching more vessels. Dozens of them poured out like angry hornets. "Captain, we can't fight them all," Hana said. "We need to get to the surface." "Agreed. Jay, find me the largest concentration of Valorian life signs." "We're going down." The ship punched through the atmosphere, shaking and rattling. Kreth ships followed but broke off when human weapons damaged 2 more of them. The Indomitable landed in the ruins of a city called Shalvara. Towers lay broken across the streets. Bodies floated in the flooded lower districts. And somewhere nearby, sensors showed thousands of Valorians still alive. Hyun assembled his team in the landing bay. "Jay, Hana, Yuna, you're with me. 20 Marines, full combat gear. Our mission is to find survivors and establish an evacuation point." Yuna checked her medical pack. "Captain, the atmosphere outside is toxic from all the fires. The gravity is higher than Earth standard. The temperature is 43 degrees Celsius." Hyun sealed his helmet. "So it's a nice day compared to Earth's deserts. Let's move." They found the survivors 2 kilometers from the landing site, in underground shelters beneath what had been a school. Thousands of Valorians huddled in the darkness, their large eyes wide with fear. They were beautiful beings, with smooth skin that shimmered in blues and greens, delicate hands and graceful movements. A Valorian female stepped forward. She wore the torn remains of a teacher's robe. "I am Kira. I have been leading the survivors here. Are you from the council? Have they finally sent help?" Hyun removed his helmet. The air was thick and hot, hard to breathe, but he wanted her to see his face. "No, we're from Earth. We're humans. We heard your distress call." Kira's eyes widened. "Earth? The Death World? But you're so far away, and you're just one ship." "Why would you come?" "Because you needed help," Hyun said simply. "That's enough." Tears ran down Kira's face. "The council abandoned us. They said the cost was too high. But you came." Hana was already setting up equipment. "Ma'am, we need to get your people to our ship, but we can't take everyone at once. How many are in this shelter?" 32,000, Kira said. "And there are other shelters throughout the city. Maybe 200,000 survivors total in Shalvara alone." Jay whistled. "Captain, that's way more than we can evacuate." Hyun knew Jay was right, but he also knew what he had to do. He opened a channel on his communicator, broadcasting on all human frequencies. Earth needed to hear this. The colonies needed to hear this. Any human ship within range needed to hear this. "This is Captain Hyun Dae-won of the Indomitable, broadcasting to all human vessels. I am at Valora Prime. Millions of civilians are dying here. The Galactic Council has refused to help. I am asking any human ship in range to come to Valora Prime. I don't care if you're military, commercial, or just passing through. We need every ship. These people need us. Please, help us save them." He closed the channel. Around him, his crew looked uncertain. They had just asked civilians to come to a war zone. They had just broadcast Earth's position to anyone listening. They had just broken every rule the Council had. But in the shelter, Kira was translating Hyun's words to the other Valorians. And they were crying, not from fear anymore, but from hope. "They're coming," Kira whispered. "You really meant it. You're going to try to save us all." "We're going to do more than try," Hyun said. "We're going to succeed." Above them, Kreth ships circled the city. But somewhere in space, human ships were hearing the call. And they were coming. Over the next 36 hours, 17 human ships arrived at Valora Prime. Each one dropped out of FTL space and immediately joined the fight. There was the New Horizon, a massive colony transport commanded by Captain Tae Yang Nam, a veteran who had seen Earth's worst wars. There was the Wanderer, a small, independent freighter piloted by a hotshot named Woo Jin Lee, who flew through Kreth formation like they weren't even there. And there was the Relentless, a military destroyer under Commander Minji Sato, who brought enough firepower to make the Kreth hive ships think twice. The Kreth had never seen anything like it. Species didn't do this. They didn't risk their ships for strangers. They didn't fly into war zones when they could stay safe. The Kreth hive mind analyzed the situation and couldn't understand it. These humans were acting irrationally. They were acting dangerously. They were acting like cornered predators instead of prey. On the surface, Hyun coordinated with the new arrivals. Tai Yang, your ship has the most cargo space. I need you to take refugees from the coastal cities. Woo Jin, your ship is fast. Use it to scout for other survivor groups. Minji, I need you to keep those hive ships busy in orbit. Copy that, Hyun. Tae Yang's voice crackled over the comm. We're loading civilians now, but I have to tell you, when we heard your call, every human colony donated supplies. We're bringing food, medicine, construction equipment. If we're saving these people, we're doing it right. Hyun felt emotion tighten his throat. Thank you, old friend. In the medical bay of the Indomitable, Yuna worked without rest. Valorian wounded came in constantly, and she treated them with techniques that amazed her Valorian assistant, a doctor named Pell. How do you do this? Pell asked as Yuna performed emergency surgery on a child who would have died by council medical standards. Our medicine focuses on comfort and peaceful passing. You fight for every life like it's a war. Because it is a war, Yuna said, not looking up from her work. Death wants to take my patient. I refuse to let it win. That's what human medicine is about, refusing to give up. The child survived. Pell stared at Yuna like she was seeing magic. Above the planet, the human fleet executed a coordinated attack on the Kreth hive ships. Minji directed the assault with precision that terrified the Kreth. Human ships attacked from multiple angles simultaneously, used kamikaze drones to overwhelm defensive systems, and exploited weaknesses in the hive ship's organic armor that the Kreth thought were hidden. One hive ship took critical damage and began to retreat. The other two moved into defensive positions, which was exactly what Minji wanted. Defensive positions meant they stopped launching attack runs on the surface. All human vessels, good work, Minji broadcast. Keep the pressure on. Don't let them breathe. On the ground, Hana led a team of engineers to a Valorian shield generator station. It was halfway up a mountain and supposedly destroyed, but Hana had scanned it and found the core intact. If we can get this running, it'll protect the whole city, she explained to her team. Problem is, it's designed for Valorian technicians. Everything is too delicate for our hands. One of the Marines, a young woman named Dami, grinned. Ma'am, my grandmother used to fix watches. If she could handle tiny gears, I can handle this. They worked for 16 hours straight, in heat that would have killed most council species, breathing air that burned their lungs, carrying equipment up a mountain that felt like climbing in heavy gravity because it was heavy gravity. When the shield finally powered on, bathing the city in a protective blue glow, the team cheered. Kira, watching from below, whispered to Hyun, "Your people work in conditions that would kill us. You don't even seem to notice." Hyun looked at her in surprise. This is rough, but we've all trained in worse. Earth has deserts hotter than this, mountains higher than this, air more toxic than this. We're used to our planet trying to kill us. Your planet tries to kill you? Kira's voice was shocked. Every day, Hyun said. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, predators, diseases. Earth has everything that wants humans dead. We survived anyway. That's what we do. Meanwhile, Jay was teaching Valorian resistance fighters basic guerrilla tactics. The Valorians were terrible fighters, too gentle, too hesitant. But they were learning. When you're outnumbered, don't fight fair, Jay explained. Use the environment, hit and run. Make them afraid to chase you. Humans have been doing this for thousands of years. One of the Valorians, a young male named Tor, asked quietly, How long was your species at war? Jay thought about it. All of our recorded history until about 50 years ago. We've been fighting since we learned to pick up stones. It's only recently that we stopped fighting each other." The Valorians looked at him with a mix of horror and awe. These humans were warriors born from a world of war, and now they were using all that terrible experience to save strangers. The crisis came when a Kreth ground force surrounded a civilian shelter containing 30,000 Valorians. The Kreth commander sent a simple message: surrender or die. Hyun took 200 Marines and went directly to meet them. The Kreth had 3,000 soldiers. The odds were terrible. But humans had fought at worse odds before. The battle was brutal and close. The Kreth expected the humans to break and run when they took casualties. Instead, humans with broken bones kept fighting. Marines with wounds that would have killed council soldiers administered their own first aid and got back in the fight. The Kreth had never encountered anything like it. These humans fought like Earth itself had taught them: savage, determined, refusing to quit. After 2 hours, the Kreth force retreated. They left behind 800 dead. The humans had lost 43, each one mourned, but the shelter was safe. Coordinator Linth, watching from his council station, sent an urgent message to the High Council. "We have made an error. Earth is not a garden world. Earth is a Category 12 death world, and we just watched its inhabitants fight like they're still on it. We need to reconsider everything we know about humans." The evacuation continued for 5 days. Human ships worked around the clock, ferrying Valorians to safety while holding off Kreth attacks. The cost was heavy. 3 human ships were destroyed, including the freighter Wanderer. Woojin Lee died saving a transport full of Valorian children, ramming his ship into a Kreth vessel that was targeting them. At his memorial service, held in the cargo bay of the New Horizon, Captain Taeyang spoke with tears in his eyes. Woojin was a pilot, a friend, and a hero. He came here because people needed help. He died making sure they got it. We will remember him. We will honor him. And we will finish what he started. 4 million Valorians were saved. 8 million had died. The numbers haunted Hyun as he walked through the refugee camps on the human ships. They had saved so many, but lost so many more. Kira found him standing alone, looking out at Valora Prime through a viewport. "You carry the weight of the dead," she said softly. "I can see it in your eyes. We should have come sooner. We should have brought more ships. You came when no one else would. You brought what you had. Captain, the Council has thousands of ships. They chose to send none. You had 17, and you sent all of them." She put a gentle hand on his arm. "Why do humans do this? Why do you fight for strangers?" Hyun was quiet for a moment. "On Earth we have a saying, 'I am my brother's keeper.' It means we're responsible for each other, all of us. We learned that the hard way, through centuries of war and hate and genocide. We learned that when we turn away from suffering, we become less than what we should be. So we don't turn away anymore. We can't." In the medical bay, Yuna had been working for 72 hours straight. Pell finally forced her to take a break, bringing her water and food. "You saved 2,000 lives that would have died by our medical standards," Pell said. "How?" Yuna drank the water gratefully. "Human medicine was developed on a death world. We learned to treat trauma because Earth constantly traumatized us. We learned aggressive intervention because we had to. We learned to fight for lives because death was always trying to take them. You talk about your world like it's an enemy. It was for most of our history, but fighting it made us strong, made us stubborn, made us refuse to give up." Yuna smiled tiredly. "Earth tried to kill us every day. We survived. That's what we're good at. Surviving. And helping others survive too." Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was having an emergency session. The footage from Valora Prime had spread across all Council worlds. Images of humans pulling Valorian children from rubble, sharing their own food with refugees, fighting against impossible odds, not for conquest or profit, but simply because it was right. Some council members wanted to sanction Earth for violating protocols, but the majority were silent, watching the videos, seeing what real courage looked like. Ambassador Nariko stood before the council and gave the speech of her life. "You call us aggressive. You call us dangerous. You warned each other about the Deathworlders from Earth. And you were right. We are dangerous, but not to you. We're dangerous to those who harm the innocent. We're dangerous to those who commit genocide while the galaxy watches. She paused, looking at each council member. You asked us to join your council to follow your protocols. We tried. But we will never follow the protocol that says we watch people die because it's safer. If that makes us too dangerous for your council, then we'll leave. But we won't stop helping people. That's not who we are. That's not what Earth taught us to be. The council chamber was silent. Then, slowly, a Valorian delegate began to clap. Then another. Within moments, half the council was applauding. The other half looked uncomfortable, but they didn't object. On Valora Prime, the end came suddenly. The Kreth hive mind had been analyzing human behavior, trying to understand these creatures who treated 40% casualties as acceptable losses, who fought with broken bodies, who coordinated like a hive mind despite being individuals. The conclusion was disturbing. Humans were apex predators from a world that had tried to kill them for millions of years. They had evolved to never give up, to protect their group at any cost, to fight with a savagery that peaceful species couldn't imagine. The Kreth had conquered many worlds, but they had never fought Deathworlders before. The 3 hive ships began to withdraw. Before they left, the Kreth hive mind sent one message to the human fleet. We acknowledge you, warriors of Earth. This world is yours. We will not meet again. It was both a retreat and a warning. The Kreth would not fight humans again. But they would also remember this lesson and prepare for other Deathworld species that might exist in the galaxy. As the Kreth ships jumped to FTL, every human vessel erupted in cheers. They had done it. Against all odds, against a superior enemy, against the expectations of the entire galaxy, they had saved Valora Prime. Hyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, exhausted, wounded, but victorious. Yuna, Jay, and Hana joined him, looking at the planet below. The fires were going out. The survivors were safe. The nightmare was ending. We did good, Captain, Hana said quietly. We did what was necessary, Hyun replied. What was right? Yuna checked her datapad. Captain, I'm getting reports from all the human ships. Total casualties, 273 dead, over 800 wounded, 3 ships destroyed. Jay added, we saved 4.2 million Valorians. Hyun nodded slowly. Every human life lost hurt. But he knew those men and women had died doing something that mattered. They had died being humanity's best self. Send a message to Earth, Hyun said. Tell them what we did here. Tell them why. And tell them that space needs us. The galaxy needs what Earth made us. They need the stubbornness, the courage, the refusal to give up. They need Deathworlders who fight for others. As the message was sent across the stars, traveling to humanity's homeworld, Kira watched from the refugee section. She was composing her own message, one that would change everything. She was writing a formal request for humans to stay on Valora Prime. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. As friends. As the ones who came when no one else would. And across the galaxy, 17 other council worlds were composing the same message. 6 months later, Valora Prime was healing. The cities were being rebuilt, the dead were honored, and the survivors were learning to live again. But the planet was different now. Human engineers worked alongside Valorian architects, building structures designed to survive earthquakes, storms, and attacks. Human doctors taught Valorian healers aggressive trauma medicine. Human soldiers trained Valorian volunteers in defensive tactics. And everywhere, there were humans who had chosen to stay. Captain Taeyang Nam supervised construction projects using equipment donated by human colonies. My people know what it's like to rebuild, he told grateful Valorians. After Earth's wars, we had to rebuild entire continents. We're good at it. The construction equipment was all designed for Earth's harsh conditions, which meant it was almost indestructible on gentler worlds. Valorian infrastructure, rebuilt with human engineering, could now withstand almost anything. Hana ran the project with enthusiasm. If our systems can survive Earth's earthquakes and hurricanes, they can survive anything the galaxy throws at you, she told the Valorian engineers. They believed her, because they had seen what Earth-trained humans could do. Dr. Una Park published a paper titled Cross-Species Trauma Medicine, Lessons from Deathworld Emergency Response. It revolutionized council medical practices. Hospitals across the galaxy began adopting human techniques, triage, aggressive intervention, refusing to give up on patients. Thousands of lives were saved because of knowledge earned in Earth's harsh conditions. Una was offered prestigious positions at council medical institutes, but she refused them all. "My place is on the Indomitable," she said simply. "Someone has to keep those heroes alive." Lieutenant J. Kwan became something unexpected. A teacher. Council species who had never fought, never needed to defend themselves, wanted to learn from humans. Jay traveled to different worlds, teaching defensive tactics, strategic thinking, and survival skills. "Most of you evolved on peaceful worlds," he explained to his students, who came from a dozen different species. "You never had predators, never had wars, never had to fight. That's beautiful, but now threats exist, and you need to protect yourselves. I can teach you what Earth taught us." The students learned eagerly. They were horrified by humanity's violent history, but they understood why humans fought so well. When your world tried to kill you every day, you learned to survive. Captain Hyun Dae-won received both a commendation from Earth and a formal reprimand from the Council for violating protocols. He kept both in his quarters. The commendation reminded him that humanity valued courage. The reprimand reminded him that not everyone saw things the same way. But he also received something more important: a message from Coordinator Linth. "Captain Hyun, I apologize. I told you the Council way was to preserve what we could and mourn what we couldn't save. You showed me that we were wrong to accept loss so easily. You showed me that sometimes the right thing to do is fight, even when it seems impossible. Thank you for saving my people, and thank you for teaching the Council what courage really means." Hyun and Linth became friends, though they often disagreed. Linth represented the Council's peaceful philosophy. Hyun represented humanity's warrior compassion. Together, they worked to bridge the gap between two very different views of the universe. The biggest change came when Kira, now Valora Prime's reconstruction coordinator, made a formal proposal to the Galactic Council. "We request that humans establish a permanent presence on our world, not as conquerors or occupiers, but as partners and protectors. They came when we needed them. We want them to stay." Within a week, 17 other Council worlds submitted identical requests. They had all seen what happened at Valora Prime. They had all realized that the galaxy's millennium of peace had only lasted because no real threat had emerged. Now that threats existed, they needed the Deathworlders they had once feared. The Council debated for months. Finally, they created a new position: Defender Species. Humanity was the first to hold the title. The role came with responsibilities: protect Council worlds from external threats, train defensive forces, coordinate emergency responses. It also came with resources, access to restricted technologies, and a permanent seat on the Council's Security Committee. Ambassador Nariko accepted on behalf of Earth, but her speech was clear and firm. "We didn't fight for titles or power. We fought because beings were dying and we could help. That hasn't changed. That will never change. If you want humans in your galaxy, understand this. We will always answer the cry for help. It's not in our nature to do otherwise." The Council accepted her terms. They didn't really have a choice. The galaxy had seen what humans could do, and more importantly, they had seen what humans would do. When others ran from danger, humans ran toward it. When others accepted loss, humans fought. When others said, "Impossible," humans said, "Watch us." Back on the Indomitable, life returned to a new normal. The ship patrolled sectors near Council space, exploring new worlds and helping where needed. The crew had changed. They were veterans now, with scars and memories and a quiet confidence that came from knowing they had done something that mattered. Hyun sat in his command chair, reading reports. Yuna was in medical, preparing for a lecture she was giving to Council doctors. Hana was in engineering, upgrading the ship's systems with new Council technology. Jay was on the bridge, teaching two Valorian exchange officers how human tactical systems worked. A priority alert sounded. Jay checked his console and looked up. Captain, we're receiving a distress call. Raiders are attacking a mining colony in Sector 7. Multiple civilian casualties. They're requesting immediate assistance. Hyun didn't hesitate. All hands, battle stations. Jay, plot an intercept course. Maximum speed. Yes, sir. As the crew rushed to their positions, Yuna's voice came over the intercom from medical. Captain, I read the alert. I'm prepping trauma bays now. Hana chimed in from engineering. Engines ready, Captain. I'll get you there fast. The ship hummed with energy as systems powered up. On the view screen, the stars shifted as the Indomitable turned toward the distress call. Somewhere in Sector 7, people were in danger. Somewhere out there, someone needed help. Jay counted down. Jumping to FTL in 30 seconds. Multiple hostiles detected at the destination. Civilians in danger. Same as always then, Hana's voice crackled over the comm. The Deathworlders are coming to help. Hyun smiled slightly. 6 months ago, they had been uncertain explorers, new to space and unsure of their place. Now they knew exactly who they were and what they were meant to do. 20 seconds, Captain, Jay reported. Hyun thought about all the council species who had lived in peace for so long. He thought about the Valorians they had saved, the Kreth they had fought, and the galaxy that was slowly learning what Earth had created. Humans were aggressive. Humans were dangerous. Humans came from a world that had tried to kill them for millions of years. All of that was true. But humans were also compassionate. Humans protected the weak. Humans ran toward danger when others ran away. And humans never, ever abandoned those who needed help. 10 seconds, sir. All stations ready, Captain, Yuna confirmed. Let's go save some people, Hyun said quietly. The Indomitable jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward the distress call. Weapons were charged, shields were up. The crew was ready. They were going to do what humans did best, stand between the innocent and those who would harm them, because that's what Deathworlders do. And across the galaxy, on worlds that had once thought themselves lost, children learned new words in their native languages. When danger came, when darkness fell, when all hope seemed gone, there were beings who would come. There were warriors who fought not for conquest or glory, but because it was right. Those warriors had a name. Those warriors came from a world that had made them strong, compassionate, and unstoppable. Those warriors were called humans, and they were always coming to help.